Straw Hut Media.
Hello on the Rockers. On this episode, we've got the moves and grooves with dancer choreographer Lockhart Brownlie, his own Thunder from Down Under. He's here to spill the tea about his career and what it's like to perform with Taylor Swift, Britney, J-Lo, Katy Perry, little-known celebrities, with our pop culture report with model Steven Dehler and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buns and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. I would just like to know, at what point in my life did plucking ear hair become part of my get ready for the day out? Like, when did that happen?
What?
It's part of now my routine. Somebody's like, oh, I think you have a hair in your ear. And I was like, oh, it was there for I don't know how long. It was like, Rapunzel, Rapunzel. Now that's part of my routine. I'm horrified.
You don't have like one of those little tiny, like you can just do them everywhere, like your nose, your ear,
I did. It didn't work. It was like, nope.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so. Welcome to old age. Anyway, that was my opening. This Friday.
Very attractive opening we got there.
All right, on the Rocks on the road this Friday. The infamous Sherry Vine and I will be your host for a sassy soiree, raising money and awareness for colorectal cancer by way of the Cheeky Charity in Palm Springs, March 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. Head to cheekycharity.org for more information. We know cancer has affected us all, and colorectal cancer is growing at a ridiculous rate and in younger generations at a very scary pace. When I saw the facts, I was like, holy crap. No pun intended, holy crap. And this is just a little key. You should no longer be waiting to age 40 to get yourself checked out. And gays, you're showing off your butt anyway. Like, cheekycharity.org. Go find out the facts. Find out where you can get tested for more information. So head there, but come have fun with Sherry Vine. Can you imagine Sherry Vine and me making, well, not jokes about ass cancer, but talking about ass?
Yeah.
In a pro. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. The show's presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast, by the way. Lucky East Coast. All right, let's get the show on the road. My co-host today, no stranger to On the Rocks, just a stranger to clothes, Steven Dehler.
Today was warm, too. I had to.
My God, it was like 62. He's like, sleeves off.
Anytime I was 70 today.
Whatever.
Tomorrow's going to be raining, though.
Steven Dehler is a print and runway model, appearing in numerous campaigns for numerous products. He's appeared on screens big and small in a variety of projects, from Drag Race to Will and Grace to Brad Pitt's Ad Astra, by the way. Of course, he is our resident pop culture correspondent and continues to heat things up on his social media.
Not these old-ass photos.
No, they're not. Please welcome.
I do have, recent ones.
I know. I've looked. They're damp. Please welcome Steven Dehler.
What's up? I know, this keeps falling down on me. Like I said, electronics have not been really working with me today.
Yeah, what is it?
I can't. I don't even talk about it.
Anyway, okay. Before I bring on our guest, so we talk about everything, you and me. But I want to talk to you. We have a lot of entertainment people that listen to the show. We talked about some shady business in terms of photographers, business owners. You as a model, somebody changed the color of the underwear you were modeling to do a whole new campaign without paying you.
Yeah.
Can you give some maybe newbie models some of the red flags to definitely watch out for at the beginning?
I mean that's definitely one of them. I mean, if they're changing the colors of your clothing and not paying you for a new photo shoot, then they're kind of just using what they had already paid you for. So it's it's not really good business.
But he was shady from the beginning in terms of payment and stuff like that. It's know your worth, stick to your worth. And this for exposure can only go so far.
I mean, technically, if you wanted to take it further, they don't really have the rights to change the actual coloration of the photo to sell it as different. What is going on today?
My God. Tony, we need some help with his limp mic.
I tried to tighten it up.
cheekycharity.org. Tighten it up.
But yeah, like, so, I mean, if you want to even take it that far, you can't do that because you need to have a model release for like specific things that you were wearing. And if you just change the color of that, then those photos are,
what are some of the red flags when you get to set and they start telling you, like, here's what's going to happen, go get changed? Like, what are some red flags that you should be like, nope, this is not for me, and hit the door?
I mean, I would say like 99% of the gigs that I was getting paid for, I never had like a situation where I just like walked right out of it. I mean, I don't really think that you should try to burn your bridges. I mean, you shouldn't cross it twice, but don't just like, I wouldn't just like walk out. I would probably just be like, okay. And I would get to a point where if something was getting to a point where I just couldn't handle anymore, I might speak up a bit. But that's the thing you maybe shouldn't be afraid of, to speak up a little bit, because if you're feeling something's off, then something's probably off. But I mean, I've not too long ago I worked with this guy that he wanted me to just do a video where I was bicep curling, and that was it. And the second I got on set, I knew that this was going to be terrible because he got 35-pound dumbbells to do this video, and I'm like, you have to have me curl like 40 to 50 times to get the shot, right?
Same.
Like you want to make it look like it's a big dumbbell, but you want to get a fake one. You want me to 35-pound dumbbells is what I usually just do as myself when I'm working out, and I do a set of 10, and then I'm tired after 3, and then I'm done. Like, you can't move on from that. And I'm like, you want me to like, so that was like a really like a rookie kind of thing. You can see when you walk on set, you're like, okay, well, you had no idea what you were doing in this aspect, because you do not have someone just like curl 30, like the full weight itself for a photo shoot. You want to have face, you want to have angles, you want to have body, right? And you're not going to get that if the person's freaking struggling on their 5th curl to get to that. I'm a big guy, and I still was like struggling trying to do that.
I was a hand model, and they wanted me to go past my wrist. I thought, no, how dare you?
You were?
That's for OnlyFans. No. These monkey hands.
I'm struggling with this thing over here.
Someone's like, one little kid last week, it was at CVS, and I was paying. I was like, are you a werewolf? And the mom was so embarrassed.
Oh no, not hairy hands.
Yeah, so manly. Okay, let's get this on the road. It's time for the man of the hour, Lockhart Brownlie. Hailing from Australia, this thunder from down under started training in dance at an early age, and his move to LA kicked off with working with Katy Perry on 2 of her world tours, performing at Super Bowl halftime, presidential campaign shows, films, and multiple televised award shows around the world. Hello. He also worked with Taylor Swift on her tour, collaborated with Britney Spears on her Domination Vegas residency. Girl, we're going to spill the tea about that one. J-Lo's tour for her 50th birthday. Also on Wicked in Broadway. He's been featured on Glee, True Blood, RuPaul's Drag Race, Minx on HBO, and Magic Mike Live for Britain's Got Talent. He also choreographed for many lifestyle brands, hair companies, and collaborated with Elton John for his Oscar-nominated song, I'm Gonna Love Me Again. He's the co-owner of the Tasmanian Dance Expo with Renee Ritchie, and he's been touring his new male erotic show, Brolesque, around SoCal. I saw it at Strut Nightclub in OC, and I just had to figure out who this guy was because he emceed it and danced it, and then I find out all the stuff about him. Let's take a look at Lockhart Brownlie in action.
Oh, Lord.
Solo. Froze.
Boy, you see ya, looking at me. I feel your eyes on me like you gotta have me. Watching every move like it's for you. You can't help it, you attracted like a magnet. My love ain't easy, you gon' have to put in some work. You can't buy me a drink, thinking I'ma fall for your flirt. You gotta make it right, if you wanna go spend some time. You gotta raise the bar tonight. So
fun. So I wanted to show that solo because when we see it on stage with whoever the celebrity in the center is, with all of the lights and all the special effects, we forget to like notice how much work, blood, sweat, and tears goes into the dancing alone as a solo. So please welcome Lockhart.
I'm embarrassed.
Oh, please. You're like, yeah, that's me.
I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to watch the whole thing.
So pleased to meet you, and so pleased to like know this huge career you've had. I mean, you've like lived it. It's like, where's your biography? Where's your memoirs? It's like, bitch, I haven't even started yet.
I know, the pop divas, just, I've gone through them all.
They love you, and you've caused a little problem with the pop divas. We'll talk about that later. But I know you started dancing at early age. You attended your sister's dance classes and was in the back at like 3 years old.
Yeah, I
You were
was
just
young.
like doing the
Yeah,
moves?
I was just like, jumping up and down, and well, actually, the first style of dance that my family or my sisters kind of were in was Highland dancing. We're a Scottish family,
yeah.
which goes by the name of full Lockhart Brownlie. So I started like kind of learning how to do Highland dancing, which is jumping up and down basically on one foot with a hand in the air. So
that explains the rear end. It's like marble. We started off early.
we did. So yeah, I mean, jigging up and down for a while.
Now, it's one thing when you're 3 years old and it's cute, the boy in the back is like doing the dance moves,
Yeah.
and then it turns, it's like, oh, okay, career. I don't know anything about growing up in Australia, but how normal was it for a boy to want to get into dance? I know you've talked about that you were bullied. So maybe you can kind of talk to where it shifted. It's like, oh, no, this is real for Lockhart.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm actually from Tasmania. So I grew up in Tasmania, which is the separate island of Australia. And so, it's small, it's small-minded. And I was like one of the only guys dancing, during my whole, kind of like childhood. And especially when I kind of got into like doing ballet dancing and having to wear the tights and, dancing around the girls with the tutus, it kind of like, again, switched into a whole nother kind of a form of bullying, because then it really turned into like, oh, you're just the sissy, you're the little ballerina boy. So, I mean, yeah, I experienced, a lot of bullying. Sometimes I'm not even sure sometimes how I kind of got through it, because there were like obviously moments that I just didn't want to leave the dance studio because there were like, guys that were outside, like little kids outside, like, harassing me in the dance. They are vicious. There was one time where there was like a group of like kids. Now I'm like looking back on it. I was like, they were like young people and they were circling on their bikes around the dance studio that I was in by myself. And I was terrified, obviously.
I wonder what they're doing now.
I know. Well,
They're probably still in
They're
Tasmania.
still like
circling on the bike.
store with their like beer in a paper bag going,
totally. But it does create you kind of having that kind of like angst against them, being like, yeah, I wonder what you're doing now. You know what I mean? Like,
but not only that, we saw the movie Fosse, we saw the miniseries. That's going to be a scene in your movie.
1,000%,
It's like
my
the
memoir.
circling of the bike, and it's going to turn into the
I'm throwing rocks at the window, and I was like shivering inside.
I mean, we're laughing about it, but that's very scary. And how was your family's support of that? Again, it's cute to when it's like, this is my profession.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's really what got me through was my, family have always been so supportive. My mum and dad have been so supportive. My dad actually, my whole family, we've always done like amateur musicals together. Even my dad. And I think once everyone kind of stopped doing them, he was like the last one still doing these amateur musicals and would rock up to work with like eyeliner on and mascara on and like, make a thing to say, oh yeah, I'm just, performing in the local musical of Oliver or Annie Get Your Gun or Hello Dolly. It was like,
love that
so
energy.
cab.
Yeah.
So I've always had that really supportive family, which honestly I think was what, got me through those awful years.
Well, and like music, because you started piano very early too. Were you bullied for like playing piano and staying home and practicing?
I was bullied for other things, but not really piano. I mean, my brother would call me a penis instead of pianist because he thought
I say that to you all the time.
That's why I say pianist now instead of pianist, because pianist is the correct way to say it. But because of him being like, my brother's a penis, like.
It's awful.
I get made fun of for a lot of other things. Like just my interest in Britney Spears is what I got bullied for.
Just my posters on the wall.
That's all. Like we said, you started studio training very early on. What did you learn learn early on in the studio as a youngin that you still ascribe to this day? That's like, I'm glad I learned this very early because this has kept me going through every single gig.
Well, I mean, we were also very lucky in Tasmania to, be able to perform. Our competitions were at this gorgeous theatre, like this beautiful theatre, the Princess Theatre. And so we got to perform at this theatre twice a year. And, that comes along with learning about the etiquette of the theatre and the backstage and the lighting and the guy who's out the front running the whole building. So like that stuff, when I did my first job, which was Wicked, and in Australia was my first kind of professional job, I almost felt like I had already had these tools and lessons from my amateur years, from kind of performing at theaters back in Tasmania. So being from a smaller state, really gave me that opportunity to kind of experience things that if I was living in Melbourne or in Sydney or kind of in the bigger cities, I wouldn't have had. So they are definitely things I take.
Now, little known fact, you could have been a professional diver too.
I could have, yeah. It's my secret little, kind of gift.
But you kind of had to make that decision.
I
I wrote down, I'm like, what, your butt didn't fit into the Speedos anymore?
No, you know what? I used to be so self-conscious of my butt, and because I was always
It's award-winning now.
I know. Now I'm I love it. I'm like, don't go away. But I used to be so self-conscious because I did diving, which was obviously in tiny little Speedos, and then dancing was always in some kind of tight or something tight-fitting. So I was always such a chubby little kid, and so I always had these giant legs, this big butt, and I was just but now I'm oh, thank God.
Who's joking now, like you said? Who's joking now?
I know.
So if you're young and you're feeling insecure about anything, girl, it's going to be your money maker.
Yeah, just remember all the
Totally.
things that they're making fun of you for and the things you're being picked on. You're going to be doing
can
those
use
things
it.
and being making money
Yeah.
and being flourishing later. So
so don't you
let
worry.
let those sharks circle the freaking parking lot if they want
Yeah.
to.
So all of my report cards, we have them saved, laminated, from first grade, even through high school. Every single class, no matter was PE, religion, whatever, was excessive talking. It was all that. It was we say them all. Not one class said that. Even choir, we were supposed to be singing, it was excessive talking during class. And look, it's done me well. Okay,
It's weird that you have this job now.
I know. The hilarious process. Anyway. Your first big gig, like you mentioned, was Wicked in Melbourne.
Yes.
Noise.
It's
Noise.
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
You got to say it, Roy.
Kimmy.
Melbourne.
Now you did this for about 13, 14 months. I want to know, was it hard as a dancer going from learning new stuff every day in the studio and competition, new stuff, to sticking to the same show for so long? And what did you learn most about being a dancer from doing your first kind of Broadway show?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yes, it was hard to kind of go from being, a young dancer that's always learning new things and kind of having this excitement of new styles coming into your life all the time to then going and doing, contractual work where you're doing the same thing every day. But that's really what you train to do as a dancer, realistically, that's what you kind of are, training to kind of prepare yourself for. So it was hard, and I definitely after the 15 months or whatever it was, I was ready to move on, and I was one of the only two to actually leave the show and go off and try something new, because everyone was moving to Sydney and renewing their contract, and I was like, I know there's so much more out there and there's so many more things I want to go and do. And everyone literally was like, you're making the worst decision of your life, of your career. This is being in a contract and earning money is the best thing for a dancer.
And to say I'm in a Broadway production
I know,
of Wicked.
I know.
And for some people, that is the pinnacle of their career.
And there were a lot of
Not that
my
that's bad.
castmates.
No,
a lot of my castmates stayed for 7 years doing that one show and with the same cast. And, I moved quickly to the US and then started, working on my next big kind of journey.
So I do want to talk about that, because you've talked about you felt you weren't taking enough risks. You felt you weren't challenged. And looking at your career, you've always, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What else am I going to do? Where does that sense of self-challenge come from?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I think I just... I don't know. I like to achieve. I think I like that, the sense of success and achieving something, and so I think always kind of, going, oh, that's my next goal, and then, striving for it, and then getting there and achieving it and kind of getting that sense of success. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's next? You know what I mean? I think that is what my addiction is kind of that the chase, that excitement of the accolades or what it feels like to kind of get people going, oh yeah, you did that. okay, cool. Well, now what else can I do? And so now I'm, it's kind of like 33 and I'm already kind of chasing my next kind of like dance journey that's like off the stage, and that's kind of where I'm now kind of aiming my goals at, and that gets me really excited.
So you decided to come to the States. You traveled around New York and LA. You happened to audition while you were here. He's like, oh, why not while I'm here? For McDonald's Selznick Associates. You were one of 12 out of 350 people from that audition that were invited to sign with them. Taking jobs away from the Americans.
I know.
Build the wall. No, I have to
That'd be
know.
a long wall.
Nice. Baby
swim under it.
Jesus.
Swim up,
Poor Sharon with her floaties. Anyway, gets eaten by a shark.
Oh,
Sharon.
Sharon. She would survive that shark attack.
It's like, Kimmy got bit by a shark. And like, boring. Okay. I want to know what that audition was like, and because in a past interview you said I wanted to know what it was like to go on an American audition. So I want to know, what was that audition like, and how was it different than what you were used to in Australia?
Totally. It is a funny story, and my girlfriends that were here at the time, we were all kind of here on this kind of 3-month training journey, and I was the only one to see this audition, notice on a bulletin board at Debbie Reynolds' dance studio.
Oh,
and
God rest that soul for that
R.I.P.
studio.
I know, it was literally like home for those 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to this audition. My sister was in town, and I was like, yeah, I want to go and see if it is really like Fame, the movie, or if it is kind of like Dance Life, or like all these like things that, like YouTube that I've been watching. I kind of wanted to just see and feel that kind of energy, not expecting anything. I mean, obviously a little bit down there was like, I hope they noticed me, but wasn't really expecting anything. It was like hot summer's day. It was on Hollywood Boulevard at IDA, which was like smack bang opposite that McDonald's on Hollywood Boulevard, and like it was, there was people lined around the corner, and I was like, oh shit, am I doing this? Anyway, I did it. The studio was probably the size of this studio with like hundreds of people. And we did a couple of combos, and then, I was in New York, actually. I was in New York because I'd left like a week later or whatever, and they called and they said, would love to, have a chat and, talk about representation. I was like, oh, great. Well, I'm in New York, and I knew they had an office in New York. I was like, I'm just going to go, I can go and chat with them here in New York. And they were like, doesn't really work like that. You have to decide, are you going to be a New York dancer, or are you going to be an LA dancer? And I was like, what does that mean, I had no idea that
it's Broadway or Hollywood.
Honey,
like literally.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they were like, make the decision now. I was like, okay. So I obviously kind of knew that I wanted to kind of be in this LA world. So I flew back.
That's a gamble.
And had a meeting. There's been a lot of gambles in my life that,
And what we've learned from everybody that we've talked to on the show, there is no right or wrong. So it's like, okay, I want to be a dancer like Lockhart. You follow that path. It might not work for you.
Yeah.
You just never know. You just have to make that chance.
Totally. And you have to just go with what your gut instinct is feeling, or, follow what you kind of are really wanting to do.
Pretty quickly, you got snatched up by Katy Perry.
Yes.
Did her world tours. That was your first kind of big celebrity gig.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the nerves of like, oh, it's Katy Perry.
Yeah.
It's not like, Broadway call. Okay.
Yeah,
you're
totally.
wicked. It's Katy.
No, that was also wild. I mean, that was another audition held at Debbie Reynolds, and that was like a huge call. It was probably...
There they are. Look how cute.
Oh, there we are. Oh, I love that little number. But yeah, no, that was a huge call. Probably 300, 400 just boys though this time. So it was just boys, and they were looking for 4 guys. It was to do her EMA European Music Awards
just
in
think
Madrid.
about that.
I know. And I was this, young, new Australian, and I booked the job, and it was really surreal. That was obviously my first job working with an international pop star, and she was growing so fast at the time, and we did the European Music Awards in Madrid, and it was a part of the music awards, but it was set in the city of Madrid. So they built this separate stage in the city around this gorgeous monument, and it was a free concert for the city. So there was I think they said 25, maybe 30,000 people in this on this basically this street, this road.
Insane.
And we did a 30-minute show, and it was the first time that you just felt that that energy come over you.
And feeling the floor shake.
Oh my God, it was wild, and firework was huge at the time, and we had a giant big firework show at the end, and it was just like, what is this life, And that's when, it kind of became, Yeah, real.
It's like, you're in
yeah,
this.
this is what you're doing. Yeah.
You had a special moment during the Katy Perry tour when your family got to come see the show.
did,
Can you tell us
yes.
about that emotional moment?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, the first tour I did with Katy was California Dreams Tour, and we went to Australia, and we, we're in Melbourne, and we did a bunch of shows at the Rod Laver Arena, and all my family came and watched, and doing firework, and kind of, being in Australia and knowing that your family's there, and we did this one move where we like put our hands up into the sky like we're fireworks, and it's just like I got so emotional. I was like tearing up on stage, and just to know that my family were there. I took the risk. I like left this contract in Melbourne. I kind of did this like risk to go to America. I was dealing with lawyers and visas and like a lot of stuff that my family had no idea how to help out, or obviously they were supporting there as just like being supportive, but like they didn't know what to do, you know what I mean? So to know that like I had lived my dream, or like got that dream job, and to be in Australia was like incredible. It was incredible.
What a look back from that small boy like mimicking the dances back then.
That small boy being harassed in a dance studio.
Those boys couldn't probably get tickets for that concert.
The crazy thing,
and they probably want them now.
The crazy thing was, I actually did have a guy who. He was kind of a friend in high school, but, definitely still was like a bit on the bully side, but like reached out and tried to get a ticket for him and his girlfriend. I was like, you've got to be joking.
That is funny.
Right.
That's funny.
That's ballsy.
That's ballsy. I've heard from people on their first big tour, their first big celebrity gig, they make early mistakes, like partying too much or being too strict and not enjoying the process, getting involved in cast romances, which never works out. What mistakes did you make for the first couple of tours with Katy Perry, or what did you learn right away?
Real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a few.
Spill the tea, girl. We're not here for polite facts.
I mean, I wouldn't say mistakes, definitely things that, taught some lessons. But I think that, the first tour I was engaged in a bit of a relationship with, one of Katy's close friends, which kind of more so
that could
just
have been a really good idea.
Well, it was a good idea. I mean, nothing was terrible like with the Katy side of it. It was more so like my heart was broken, that kind of side, when it was kind of like, no, this is not going anywhere. So that was a little something. And then there's always been this thing with me and my kind of emotions and my reactions on my face that I can't always hide, So there have been moments inside rehearsals and inside kind of like, dealing with choreographers and dealing with, creatives where I've kind of shown too much of my thoughts or my emotions that kind of haven't necessarily like led in a good direction. So I've learnt my lesson.
At least we know like where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's not like you didn't
I've got
come
opinions.
with that opinion without the talent.
Yeah,
if you're like the worst dancer and you're like, oh my God, that would be one thing.
I definitely, got to a stage sometimes where I did think I was a little bit, cooler than what I actually was. And I think when you kind of are on these big tours and you do kind of going from tour to tour and artist to artist, and you're always kind of in demand, or you think you're always in demand, you do get a little too big for your boots. And so I think that was an early lesson for me to kind of like reel it in, know who's, in control, and that you really are, replaceable at any time, and, it can always happen.
And save your money too. I've heard.
Save your money.
Save your money.
Save your money.
We've mentioned some of the big names you performed with, and you really look at the list. It's really insane. Did you ever get starstruck?
I'm sure I did with. Yes, I did. I definitely did with Britney Spears. I mean, that is like my idol. That was the reason why I'm here in America.
We're going to talk specifically about Britney in a minute.
Yeah, so she was definitely someone that I like, gagged over. And I think, and also like J-Lo as well. The thing was with Katy, I kind of joined Katy when she was new to my world, and she was kind of new to the pop world.
I love that. I love that you were at that exciting moment.
And that was really exciting.
Whenever we see movies about any band or any person, that beginning peak is always the best part of the movie.
And that's why I think we formed such a great connection. I'm still really close with a lot of Katy's close, inner circle. And, if I were to see her now, I would be a great reunion with her. But the reason why we were able to form those relationships was because we were such a tight family, and we were experiencing this amazing, tour together for the first time. It was her first big tour, our first big tour, a lot of the dancers. And so we were like joining in on a lot of the things that she was, experiencing.
I absolutely love that. You got so many great gigs, and then being on like international TV with some of these huge award shows. Some people wait all their minutes. They wait all their life for those few minutes on TV. And you've done it all like in the space of a few years. Pat yourself on the back a little bit, or maybe it comes in a form of advice. What is it about you that the industry loves so much?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, I definitely think I think it's all about timing. I really do think it's about timing, and I kind of teach that a lot now with, my mentoring and teaching. And it's like, I never say luck as a thing, but like there's a little bit of luck and just timing. Obviously I've got all the like training and I've got all the kind of like skill set behind me, but there is that little sense of timing that happened where I was here. I was, a person that was, I guess, just like in demand in the industry, because it was as soon as I started working like on Glee, and then I went to like these pop artists, and like I kept on going from job to job to job, and it just was, that
doesn't happen, by the way.
It doesn't, and that quickly too, especially from like, again, if you look at where I've come from, Tasmania to like, straight to LA and to, working with those stars. So I really don't know. I don't know. I definitely know that I know who I am as a dancer. I know my talent, and I know walking into those audition rooms, I am fully confident and I fully know what I'm going to like present and serve. But you just never know what they're looking for too. So
is it like, so you say that, like, what was your like degree of nervousness when you're in your like when you're actually in the audition?
In the audition. The auditions are awful, and they're always so like...
They're meant to be awful, because they push you to your limits there, so you don't fuck up during rehearsal.
Totally.
We all watched Making the Band, okay?
Take way not too much. Nah.
I was making the lap band.
Oh, okay. Wah, wah, wah.
But no, I don't know. Yeah, auditions are always crazy, but you just have to go in there with such blinders on too. And I always say this now to my kids that I teach. It's like, I walk into that room, I don't talk to a single person. There's a lot of people in there that like to kind of like talk and try and, kind of get your psyche out and kind of get you unfocused so they can kind of really come in there and slay. But I was always so like, nope, no one's gonna like,
you still have to be
me.
Friendly though.
You do, but friendly to the people at the, at the table.
Friendly and focused.
Yeah. Friendly and focused. FF.
There's a difference. FF.
I would venture to say also a big part of it is you proved yourself with the Katy Perry tours. You're going to show up. You're going to do the job. You're not going to cause a lot of drama, and you're going to do the damn thing.
Well, and the industry talks,
It's such a small group.
And that's where I learned my lessons with, when I kind of went through my stage of like showing my, opinions through my facial expressions. I started to feel like there was maybe some chatter going between friends who were, in positions of booking people, because it was, I just know now looking back at it that there was a little bit something there. But yeah, everyone talks, everyone's friends, everyone checks in. It's literally like a job. It's a reference. You know what I mean? They'll call up their friend and be like, hey, have you worked with so-and-so before? I'm thinking about booking him on this job. Like, what do you think?
And if there's even one little tiny thing that's a negative, you're in the room with 400 other guys.
Totally.
So it's like that little tiny thing. So it's like, be the best.
I know. You just have to be, smiling all the time.
That's it. As much as and responsible. I've known plenty of dancers that have ruined their careers from partying too hard, or getting love struck and saying, I can't tour for 6 months because I'm in love.
Yes, that love word. Or that pee party word.
Okay, we're going to do a little thing called Spill the Tea. We're going to play some clips from your career, and you're going to spill the tea. First
as
up,
much as I can.
Let's take a look at this one, because I know that we've talked about all your successes, and this is a success, but it was also kind of a disappointment at the same time. Let's take a look.
Oh.
This is taken from a rehearsal.
She was living. She was ready to kill it.
So what I have to say about this video, number one, I obviously love the content, but I love that it's such an intimate space. It's not like you have all of these like PR people around and all that. That's you working side by side with Britney, creating something together.
Yeah.
Was she was mainly choreographing that? Is that what she was saying? That's what she was
choreographed
saying.
a few steps.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see her say that.
Definitely wasn't choreographing the whole thing. But
for sure.
She put
for
a few steps in. You know, I'm not going to take that away from her.
So we know it was about 6 weeks of rehearsal. And then you left, came back after like a 10-day break, and then you found out that
Christmas.
the show was not going to continue.
Yeah. It was devastating.
First they said there was going to be a pause, and then we know that the show.
Yeah.
As a performer, getting so riled up for that, I want you to talk about that and how it could literally make a performer so depressed that you become debilitated by that depression.
Yeah.
Can you kind of work through how you found that out and how you work through that kind of like shit?
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of guys from that tour from that show that were very depressed, and it was a very international cast too. So there was a few guys that were, I think, expecting to wanting to use this for their visa,
100%.
for their, so there was, a lot of that
And
disappointment.
relocated to Vegas, by the way.
Yeah, it was a 3-year contract that we were all so
God.
excited for. The
3
show
years
was
in
also
Vegas?
like, hello, like it was fire. That was just one clip. It's like, we had created so many incredible routines. The choreographers that came in to put on these pieces, they were like, we're going to make my routine the best routine. So we're like, every routine was like fire, you know what I mean? And so when finding out about that was just, it was surreal. I was actually, it was mind blowing because we just had no idea. There was some stuff that was going on through rehearsal, and there was some, things and tears and whatever, but like we just didn't think that this was going to be the outcome to some of those events.
that kind of shows you how broken a person is when you have to cancel your career for other things.
She didn't cancel it. She was forced into a facility by her family.
That's what I mean. But it was like all this build up to it, and then you getting to see the celebrity part of it stripped away, and we have this performer that was taken over and controlled, her career put on pause for this, to see somebody that vulnerable. Must have been interesting for you as a fellow performer and as part of being part of the positive, like the Katy Perry tour. This is pretty dark.
Yeah. And we were just all so, like, every single person in that cast was such a fan of Britney's too. Like, all these little gay boys that were just like, that she was our icon, and we were all now had the chance to perform with her, and we were like going to give it our all. That was also just so hard to see everyone's everyone broken after hearing it. We all gathered at the creative director's house, Nappy Tabs, and we all just were like, everyone was just like in shock. You're just staring at each other, just being like, what is going on, So yeah, it was really sad. We were shattered, but at least we had, I said to myself when I was able to audition in front of her, and I was at the callback and she was in my room and I was, auditioning in front of her, I was like, oh, I'm happy. Like, I got to dance in front of Britney. Like, I thought
Who gets to say that?
I thought that was going to be my moment, my only moment. And then for me to book that job and to work with her and to work in those numbers and to do some of those, I got to do Me Against the Music with her for the first little intro. And it was like, that song really was one of the reasons why I'm here in America today. It was such a defining moment in my teenage years that really made me go, you know what, I want to be a backup dancer, and I am obsessed with this woman. And then getting to do it in the rehearsal room with her quite a few times, that was pretty amazing. So yeah, I'll take some good things away from her.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's take another step on this journey that we have. We're gonna get a little draggy here.
Oh, okay, have fun.
A little draggy.
The Sonny and Cher Show.
Cheese Count TV.
Me and Sonny were the hottest show in town, and they loved us.
Cheese Count
Suit. There we go. So of course this is one of their infamous musicals.
Yeah.
See my Mexican.
I see Davis.
My bookend.
Do you guys get booked with a lot of things together? That's
We
so
called
funny.
ourselves Thick and Juicy.
Oh my god. Daniel Dory and I would always call each other because they'd always book us for things for go-go gigs together because we had similar body types.
Okay. All right, so we know you've done a lot in the drag race world.
Yes.
So behind the scenes, when we see a big musical number like they have like every show, every iteration, how much rehearsal time is really going in, and how much do you actually have to overcompensate for some lesser performers? Spill the tea, girl.
Angles.
Right.
Did you say ankles or cankles?
I said angles.
I said ankles. I'm like, eureka.
No, there's not a whole lot of time to put anything together, so it's very, it's fast. And you know, we're because we are backup dancers, we get to have a version that is a little different to the star, to the lead. So I think that's where, you know, the choreographers who I've worked with on that show, which has been Todrick a few times, Miguel Zarate a few times, Jamal Sims. So like very clever at, you know, giving us the backup dancers like the dancer version, you know, with the turn and the step kick and that, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then kind of just fitting in the queen and giving them the, you know, their version.
Is it a fun experience, or is it like, thank you, okay, you're done, next episode?
I mean, it is super fun, but it is very fast. It is a very fast experience.
That.
And I just shot some, you know, stuff last year, and that was probably the fastest stuff I've done, you know, recently.
You got to be on top of your game.
You do. You just got to be on point.
Even those, I've talked to some people that
On toe point.
On your toe point with your toe pads.
But I've talked to some of the musicians who do the vocals, and they're like, we literally get the music, and like, okay, we're recording the final version. They're like, okay.
I don't know how the queens learn those lyrics. Like,
They have to mouth them. I mean, that's one
yeah,
thing. But
true.
like the actual singers,
they love a step pivot turn where they don't know the words.
This is my own opinion. This is not Lockhart's opinion. But every season we make more and more excuses for the queens. Like, oh, they don't really need to sing. Oh, they don't really need to be a stand-up comic.
This
Oh, they don't need to be funny. They don't need to sew. They don't need. What do they need to do then?
Show up.
A stylist and
Like
go
they've
to
always made
Instagram.
excuses for the queens, and in the sense of like, you know, every queen has sort of their like lane.
We're getting a little ridiculous. Like a drag queen from yesteryear, for the original attention, a drag queen could do it all on a budget.
On a budget.
Well, I think they should say no stylist. You don't come there with outfits.
No free outfits.
But the idea of drag is sort of evolved.
I don't know if I want to go back to
just
seeing those first season, you know, outfits.
It's funny when you look back, you're like,
I know, you're like, is this the same show?
yeah, it's like,
when it started getting polished, like season 5 on like 6, 7,
But
8.
it's
That set's the same.
but it's become.
Oh, they moved it. Now it's in Simi Valley now.
I know,
still,
yeah.
It didn't used to be in Simi Valley.
But
no.
literally, they made a lot of money off that set.
But it's
and
the
like,
same,
and
like,
now they're to $200,000 dollhouse.
yeah.
And that stage is so tiny in real. It's so
there's a
small.
lot of-
People think that stage is like big, and it's so
No,
tiny.
they shoot it so well. And it's freezing. They pump. So I was just there summer last year, and they pump that AC like there is no business. I mean, their bill must be through the roof.
It's all those damn lighting for root.
Well, it's that, and to keep them cool so they don't
So they don't
sweat, you
sweat,
know,
that's
don't
right, yeah.
melt.
Okay,
It's
yes,
just
that's
like,
true.
Especially
yeah.
that heat and untucked.
Because they're
Get all
And
that
they
shit.
shoot in the
shellacked,
summer.
yeah.
It's like, ooh, it is an
Yeah.
icebox in there, which I love. So
All right, next video. I love this part of your resume, celebrating 50 years. Let's take a look, and let's talk over the clip too. There we go. Now this is the performance. Listen to that. Number one, you guys are amazing, but look at this woman.
I know.
50 years.
birthday.
Look at
50th
how
birthday.
she's moving.
Okay, girl.
Yeah.
My body
Yeah.
moves like that without me asking it
And that,
to.
and,
it's
that,
just
and
like,
apparently
you
she
do
has so much weave in her hair that it is like, oh,
It's like 20, 30
yeah,
pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
20, 25, 30, 35 pounds. And she would walk off and instantly get like an ice pack towel thing around her neck because she's just, I mean, as you can see, she's whipping that head for 2 hours straight.
Oh man, burning.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Now, you had worked for other celebrities at this point. So, working with J-Lo, how was that a little bit different? Because she's a different kind of star.
Yeah.
She's not like a Taylor Swift. She's not like a Katy Perry. She's like
Yeah.
a mix of something. And she's an older celebrity.
Yeah.
What was working with her different?
It was really hard.
And she was a dancer first.
Exactly.
Fly
yeah.
Girl, hello. In living color.
I mean, that's why she moves like someone
Like
who's
no other.
20.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah,
Just
no,
stuff that she does.
she's a dancer at heart, you know, and those rehearsals were so intense and so full out.
Would she be the most intense artist that you've worked with?
Yes.
I would say so.
But like hands down. And there were moments that I was like looking at myself in the mirror in rehearsals in the water break, kind of just like going, I can do this. You can do this. You know, pick yourself up and do it.
But good, because like we said earlier,
Yeah.
you wanted that
I
challenge.
know,
It's like,
I know,
what's
I
next,
know.
what's
And
next?
I said to myself, I was like, you know, this is this is what I wanted. This is what I dreamed of. And I was obviously lucky to work with girls early on that, you know, dance
prepared you for that moment.
necessarily wasn't their like main focus. And I was also able to entertain my theatrical background with those two girls that I worked with earlier. And then this time was, you know, you are a dancer and you are going to like dance your heart out. And I felt when I got on stage and I did that first show with her, I was like, oh, this is why I'm doing it. This is what's going to get me through, is to dance with someone or perform with someone who is 150%, not 100, 150%, and like is running the show or is like leading the show. Felt so incredible. And when I had a bad day and I would look at her, I go, pull up, bitch.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
not just her dancing, and you know, the age, when you're such a dancer early on, you can speak to this. Your body feels that.
Yeah.
And she's 50 years old and she makes it look so easy. Like,
know.
girl, I get a paper cut and I have to call in sick for like a week. Tony, we're going to skip the next clip. We're going to go into Broadway Bears.
Ooh,
I want to see this clip, and we have a lot to talk about this one, actually. So we can take a look. Look at that flip, number one. Oh, there we go. That's the famous. That's the famous booty.
That's the $1 million view.
No, oh, look, and that it's not my screensaver or anything. How was it going? So you went back to Wicked on Broadway. So not in Melbourne, or how am I supposed to say it?
Melbourne.
Why do I say it like that?
I don't know. Why do we say rodeo?
Or Los Feliz. It's Los Feliz.
You know what? I always thought that.
Yeah. But what was it like going back to Wicked? Which it must have been a little mind fuck. Be like,
yeah,
it's a whole different environment.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously got that, you know, call to go and join the Wicked cast on Broadway, and I was like, oh my god, absolutely, this is, you know, another dream come true. Not really thinking, I mean, I kind of knew, but like not really connecting the dots of like what show I was going back to do, you know. And I got back into that theater and I started doing those steps again, and I was like, oh, that's right, I've done this before. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, it was a little bit of like, you know, I had left this show in Melbourne and I'd kind of done my experience of it, and going back and doing it on Broadway was an amazing experience, but I was still doing the same show that I'd done before, you know? So there was a little part in me that was a little bit like, oh, okay, you know, this is amazing. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so fortunate to have had this, you know, kind of like opportunity to have my Broadway debut. But again, I don't need to see myself staying here. So yeah, it was a quick trip, you know.
And sometimes we have to tell ourselves that it's like it's time to move on.
And that was something I was like, I didn't want to see myself getting stuck there. It was almost like I could see, because it's a good life on that Broadway stage. You know, you get everything like whatever. You're in New York. But then I also got to a point where I was like, I love California. I love the openness. I love seeing the blue sky. I love having, you know, the beach. Like, so
you love the paycheck, the craft services, being on TV. Come on, let's be
the standing ovation from the, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people in the audience.
Isn't that crazy?
Screaming my name.
Isn't that crazy? From
It was
that small little boy
it was definitely,
at that dance studio.
I know.
to
But
40,
to hear the crowd kind of like clap, because they are so appreciative, but they're a different crowd at the theater. You know, they're like clap, clap, clap,
And
clap.
let's be honest, Wicked, you could dance your brains off.
And it's still that
Everybody's
clap,
going to
clap,
stand
clap,
for
clap, clap.
Glinda and
Whereas
Alphaba.
the concert world, tour world, pop star world, you know, you hear screaming from start to finish.
And fans really do appreciate the dancers.
They do.
They appreciate how good you make the celebrity look,
Yeah.
the chemistry, and especially the chemistry that you have. I mean, I've seen all the clips, obviously.
I think that's what social media has helped a lot. Is
Yeah.
that it's people who will watch, you know, performers, and they'll see dancers behind them who are incredibly talented, like you are, and you get a following
They see that
from
connection.
that,
Yeah.
because they're like, because they connect to you and just your movement alone, and then
Especially when they see you're close with the artist as well. You know, I was also
Mm-hmm.
fortunate to work with two girls that, you know, we did become close, and that, you know, obviously helps that, you know.
That's a really good point. So I'm addicted to entertainment. So I watch a lot
Hey,
of so I watch a lot of the Broadway clips, and it's funny. Chicago, we know, is such a long running, and the joke is like, oh, they're just going to put people, in fact, your beloved Erica Jane.
Yes.
And you see the difference of those clips
Pamela.
is the star is like, for the audience, they don't know who's picking them up. There's
Yeah.
no connection.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
That's true.
it's paint by number, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. When you connect with Katy Perry and you see that, when you see you connect with J-Lo, there's like a love that's happening. That's not happening when you're an ensemble member on Broadway. It's just not.
It's true. Yeah. I
Yeah,
see that.
yeah, no, totally. It's a different. It's a machine. Those shows. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people are coming in, coming out all the time. People are in character costumes. So you don't even know who the person is.
But
and
even
So it's
rehearsal.
almost like it's mechanical at some point, whereas touring it's sort of
You're a
it's
family.
It's different wherever you're going,
Yeah.
so you kind of don't even know really what to expect because it could be technical issues or
Yeah.
something this
And you're on the
this,
road,
and
you're
that.
away
on
from
the
your
road,
family.
you're having movie nights. You go on a little bit.
The
kind
type
of-
of audience that usually ends up at Broadway usually ends up being sort of like the same like type of people that
Yeah.
go there, and
Especially,
so
like, no offense to Wicked, but Wicked is it's a touristy show. They're not coming to see...
I would say Chicago probably is too. I mean,
Chicago's way... It's
I
become...
saw Chicago 3 times at the Pantages back in the day.
I've actually
Yeah.
never seen it live. I've only seen amateurs
I think
versions
you'd
of
be
it.
bored.
But it is a classic. But
yeah, it's fun, but yeah, I it's fun. I think it depends on who's in it. Like
Yeah,
I saw
yeah.
it with Patti LaBelle, and she was
Oh,
Big Mama.
fire.
Like that was fire.
She
Jinx
didn't
would have been
sing one-
amazing. I would
yeah.
have loved to sing Jinx.
Patti LaBelle didn't sing one note that was actually written in that score. You have candor.
Does she
and
ever?
But you have candor and ebb.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it
But
fun.
no, it's candor and ebb. You have respect for it. No, she's like, wow. It's like, you didn't hit
How
the
do
G,
you
which
know?
is the
Did
only
you-
written. Oh, I was there with the score.
You were
I'm
there.
like,
You were there.
I mean, buy one of your pies. No.
I wouldn't put it past you. You're the one that's circling around the parking lot.
Get
out of there.
But I want to say, I've never done Broadway. I've never done to your level. But even regional theater, any ensemble, and this is right after college, I was doing ensemble stuff. The union people don't come in, or the equity people don't come in until like 2 weeks before. So you've done all the dance with nobody. They come in, they don't even look at ensemble or whatever. That kind of relationship is built there. Then we see you in a small room with Britney where everybody's sweaty, stinky, making mistakes, but just being together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different...
It's a whole different world. And that goes back to that story of, when I was in New York, got my call from the agent, LA, they were like, what, I was like, oh, just got to be in New York office. They're like, well, it's a whole different world.
And there's like a Cold War, even in agents' offices. It's like, oh, LA, you have them. I'm not doing a thing.
Totally. Yeah.
So I want to talk. We know Broadway Bears is a great organization, has raised millions and millions of dollars. We had Jerry Mitchell on the show. We know it celebrates the human body, butts, bulges, and we know a big part of your job. Like, we joke about your butt being a star, but it is.
Yeah.
There's a physicality to it. There's a sexuality to it. The body. Have you ever had to work through certain body issues? I know you started dancing young, so your body was kind of toned into that. But even like we talked about, like your body issues early on when you were a skinny mini. Have you ever had to work through certain body things?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely a twinkalicious when I was definitely with early on in my days, and on that first tour with Katy, and I was when I came back from the California Dreams tour, and the next kind of like goal that I wanted to do was
California Dream is a twink. I don't know if you've been around West Hollywood.
I mean, I fit the brief, right? But I wanted to be one of Erica Jane's dancers, and so there were a few dancers on that tour or on those shows that were like big muscly men like Willie Gomez and Zach Brazinas, and like there was some like these like muscly guys, and it was at a stage in the kind of the artist world where muscly topless guys were a big thing. So I wanted to kind of get into that kind of that.
But they're not the most
demographic.
flexible on stage.
Oh yeah, don't ask me to I don't know, touch my toes. No, I can't touch my toes.
No, like the bigger guys.
Yeah, no, totally. And they're not even like bigger guys, and kind of like the big muscly kind of like look is not really a look anymore, It definitely had its phase. But that's, I wanted to really transfer my body, and I did do that. But before I was definitely very scrawny and skinny, and didn't love that.
You did ballet. That's how you had to move, right?
I did. I mean, I just, didn't even think to have muscle when I was younger. It's like I was.
But you had like built-in muscle.
I had built-in muscle, but like if you had seen a picture of me, like my torso was like so long because there was like nothing.
Was it difficult for you to gain?
No, I had a really great trainer, who I stayed with for probably like 7-8 years, and he just like taught me all the ins and outs about, the food and the diet and the consistency, and so I was pretty lucky. And again, I think my body was I've obviously got a thicker lower end, so building on the top.
Dump truck.
I got a dump drop. Building on the top was only going to be easy for me, I think,
Did you ever feel like the sexuality has ever overshadowed you as a person, or maybe some of your skill sets?
Yeah, I hate being looked at like a piece of meat.
But that's a reality of
I mean, it is. Yes, it definitely is. But I don't know. I'm a dancer. I've always been a dancer. It's like, when are we not like touching our bodies? You know what I mean? So it's just always been. I've always been very aware of my, myself, my body, my like space. So,
well, and I think you
comes
put it
with
best
it.
on one of the shows. You're like, I work hard for this body. And we know a dancer, it's not just the hours and hours of rehearsal and then the performance. It is the diet.
Yeah.
As a dancer, you can't cheat. If a singer gets a little chunky, they change the wardrobe. But you're still there for your voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, and I think you said it best. It's like, I work so hard on my body. Why not show it off?
Yeah.
Why not be known for stuff that I work hard for?
You know, it's like what's her face from Schitt's Creek? You know, she's like 60. Like, yeah, no, the
Moira.
Yeah, Moira. She's like, you'll look back on that one day and be like, I was beautiful.
I'm the only gay that doesn't
Stop.
care for Schitt's Creek.
Oh no!
You know, he's the only gay that doesn't care for a lot of shits.
Intervention.
Okay, so I want to take a look at this final video. It's super sexy.
Ooh,
Let's take a look. I'm glad we're sitting down to this.
Oh, Timo.
We talk about chemistry. Talk about like, look at this. Okay. One of your latest projects is Burlesque, and it's a celebration of dance and also the male form, gay erotica.
Yes.
I wanted to play this because it really showed that kind of gay erotica that's still stylized.
Yes.
It's not stripper act. It's not a go-go boy act. The gays, we know, are under attack for our sexuality. As a dancer, were you ever afraid of focusing branding on the gay side of that? Because it's one thing to be like the sexy guy on stage with J-Lo, and then I'm here with another man. It instantly puts you in another category.
Yeah.
Were you afraid of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really only been in the last, probably just past the pandemic, to be honest, that I felt like it's time to step away from that, step away from that kind of fear or that the kind of box that we put ourselves in, when we're backup dancers, because we do want to look like we are that like straight trade that's kind of like
every person's fantasy.
Totally.
The gay boy's fantasy, but then the girls that go with fantasy.
Totally. And that's a big part of our careers, but we are the world itself and the pop culture world. We're starting to become so much more fluid.
You know what I've learned from women is that they actually enjoy the two men to get like because I do a lot of the romance crap and that like
I can imagine
all gay romance is women readers.
Yeah.
So they like to see it visually too. This is just the idea of it.
And
but in terms of casting, still like we know Hollywood casting is still 65-year-old.
Oh yeah,
men.
it's all the CEOs,
still
old white
Yeah.
cis hetero,
Yeah.
clueless men that think that
But it's funny, like you said, since the pandemic, we've also had this boom of LGBTQ celebrities that are coming out because they're like, I had to sit with myself for how long?
Yeah.
I'm just
Honestly,
going to be me.
and now I'm just like, you know what? I've literally looked back at the career and go, okay, that's awesome. I've done what I've done, and like now I'm again. I love to take a risk. I love to do things differently. I like to kind of like spearhead things, be a pioneer. Like I like to kind of like, I do like that sense of, like risk. I'm doing something risky, and I think kind of getting up on stage and doing this not Broadway, well, that started it really. That was the kind of thing that made me go, you know what, dancing in a G-string is amazing. It feels, again, like Steven was saying, like I've worked so hard for this body. I am proud of this body. Like, why am I not showing it, And I think, there are so many more people wearing G-strings at the beach, at the speedo, like as a bathing suit. Like there, people are so comfortable now with that kind of like, fashion
exposure
piece. Yeah. And to have a show where there's like, guys that still look manly and still look masculine, hence the word bro at the beginning of it, kind of is my kind of little touch on like, just because I'm in a thong and I'm kind of like, in small little pieces, or I'm wearing a feather showgirl headdress on top of my head, like, doesn't mean that I'm a femme,
I get a lot of straight...
Or I could be, and that's amazing.
I get a lot of straight women. It's super popular right now for straight men to be wearing thongs. I like a lot of straight women. They're like, I buy my boyfriend thongs all the time. That's all he wears to the gym.
Well, Calvin Klein, Nike, like all
Here's
these...
the thing about straight men, though.
companies.
They need to learn how to clean, because that's
Well,
not
I
a
mean,
cute
that
thong.
that is a whole different podcast.
That is probably... We're probably not too far away from a morning douche being, a routine for
or
most
just maybe
people.
just like a normal shower.
Just shower in general.
But I do want to talk about burlesque, because the first time I saw it was at Strut nightclub in Orange County. That in itself is a very interesting crowd.
Yes.
I was born and raised in Orange County. We know it's ultra conservative. Strut is like the literal
But
only
everything
place
starts
to
in
go.
Strut, which is what Luke said. He was
Yes.
like, the
Well, and
OC
Luke-
Housewives
Luke-
started in...
Luke knows everything about
yeah,
Arden.
yeah.
And so when the show started, it was clear in the very first few seconds. Like I said, it wasn't a stripper show. It was not a go-go show. It's an art piece. It's a dance piece.
Yeah.
Are gay... And it's so funny because it's like you're in this fine line between the two. We want to be cultured as gay men, but at the same time, gay men are like the most vulgar. They're the most hateful on social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like the gay community is like a snake that eats its own tail.
Yeah. 1,000%.
I've seen a video.
That's sort of the gay community in itself. Like we want all this like voices, right?
Yeah.
And then once we do have the voices, we're like, well, no, not that one.
Yeah.
So I want to say, since burlesque is, and it's mixing all the skills that you have and the skills of your two dancers, which are accomplished dancers. Our gay audience is ready for burlesque.
I mean, they're definitely ready for burlesque. I would say they're ready for that.
I mean, maybe
sure.
there's a little piece in the...
That'll be like the gay porn version.
That'll be the after dark version.
I'll be the Cher character. We're like, oh, we're gonna
That'll be the 2 a.m. performance in Vegas at
when we become our residency.
Yes.
Somebody better write that down.
Yeah.
But do you think gay audiences are appreciative? Are we ready for a burlesque?
Yeah. I mean, from the response that we're getting already, and we've only been up since November of last year.
Literally in a few months, and look what you guys have toured. You guys were at Nest Fest, which is part of LGBTQ Days.
Yes, in Palm Springs. We got a residency at Stash in WeHo every month, and we're doing Strut, and I think everyone is ready for this because it's fun, it's campy, it's creative, it's polished.
Yeah.
It's like it's a show. At the end of the day, it is really a show, and I think what my whole thing behind it was I'm trying to create something for the gays, for the community, something that is, there's Magic Mike that everyone like loves and has done so well. There's, all these burlesque shows, straight ones, or, kind of like, maybe a fluid version of it, but like there's nothing that's just purely for the gays. And there's plenty of drag queen shows, which we all love and adore, but like
There's
why?
Plenty of
Go-Go Boys, but why is there not anything where it's like we're literally mixing kind of all of that in one, and it's just for our community?
What I loved when you guys hit the stage again at Strut, people put their drinks down.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, we're gonna have sexy boys on stage, and the people are like, it was a show.
Yeah, because I honestly think they think it's going to be something that is a little bit more. I mean, we were also doing it, and we're starting out in clubs, and I say we're starting out because I know that this is not where we're going to.
Just like the Pussycat Dolls started at the Viper Room.
Yeah.
And talking about having to.
Yeah, I do see big things for it, and I think this is just the beginning for it, and for us to already have the focus when we come out on stage as if we are at a residency in a theater somewhere is already like. The key to me knowing that this is gonna work.
It's funny. You're gonna build the show, and then you're gonna be like, "Who's our guest for tonight?" J-Lo, Taylor, and Katy together.
I mean, I would gag if that was the case.
You teach a lot of dance. Tasmanian Dance Expo gives a place for our younger generation to compete, to learn from each other.
Yes.
What are the biggest issues that are facing young students today? And I'm not even talking about purely dance, but talk about the business. Talk about, you have an ear because I have a feeling that your students come to you with a lot.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what?
I mean, obviously, that social media, that device that we hold in our hand is plays such a big part in people, in young dancers, in their, in how they are looking at themselves, comparing themselves. There are a lot of dancers that are just lost. They're lost because there's so many options. There's so much to look at. There's so much to engage at that they're almost like paralyzed. They don't know how to start. Whereas, when I was younger and I was trying to get places, I had my own internal goals. You know what I mean? That I had come up with on my own, whereas now they're just so influenced by so much on our devices. And I think that is literally a lot of the pre-professionals who are the ones who are trying to get into the industry and who are trying to like get to where I am. They don't know how to start or step it out.
I wonder how much harm Dance Moms did for that. We know Dance Moms was on the air for years and years. I watched it because it was such drama, but I think that also put this wrong kind of idea. And that you could be a Maddie, you know?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like a double-edged sword. You have TikTok. You have people that are doing dance on TikTok, and you can become known
Which is
for...
amazing.
It's having people that might not think of themselves as dancers start moving.
Yeah. And it's been the best thing for dance is that, TikTok has created it being such a, an easy thing for people to pick up.
With TikTok.
Oh, me too. I love
TikTok has
hate.
been a great thing for people to be exposed, but it's also completely like ruined the music industry.
Yeah.
Well, and people have said that for dance too.
Yeah.
It's like you can dance for 30 seconds, but you couldn't last 10 minutes at a real.
And how many
and
times
they're
they take
making
them to
more-
record that, and
they're making more money than what we are if we are on stage with these pop
And here's the
artists
weird thing
now.
about auditions. You go to audition now, it's like, how many followers do you have?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
wait, do you want to see me dance?
I remember that first
Well,
became
not
a
me.
thing. It was years ago, and Taylor Swift actually brought it up because she was doing. It was like probably 2014 or something, and when followers started to become like really important, and she talked about how she did a gig and she ended up being knocked down a slot because at that time she didn't have as many followers as the person that ended up getting it. And that was like a big thing. And it's still like that. It's still like that today, especially for dancers, models. If they're like, okay, well, do you already have an establishment? Because then it's easy for us to get free promotion if we put the person on the cover of this or a person at the lead
and that
dancer
doesn't
of
always
this.
work out, by the way.
No.
We've had influencers on the show. I'm like, can you retweet the goddamn show? We actually talk about you as a person. And they're like, I don't know.
Are you gonna give me that money?
Okay, so I want to ask you. I could ask you, like, what's your best advice for dancers? But you've done that a lot with your interviews, which I say search your interviews. And I love you've been interviewed at all stages of your career.
I have, yeah.
It's like, oh, he's new to LA, and it's like, oh, we've done the damn thing. You're like, okay, yes, I have. So I want to know.
I'm unemployed. I've got a lot to say.
I want to know what tips you have for celebrity performers because you have seen them. Maybe not the best dancers, maybe not the best live singers. What tips do you have for celebrity performers? Not for anybody specific, but like.
I mean, it is a real art to connect with your audience, and this is actually something that J-Lo said to the makeup artist who's a good friend of mine. She said, Lockie is a really great performer. I can really see he connects with the audience. And there is that I've always had a lot of friends and a lot of people come and see the show and have always said, I'm not, also, blowing up my own head, but I connect with the audience, and I know how to kind of maybe it's my theater background, maybe it's like that kind of training in different aspects of dance, but there are dancers that don't connect, and so I think there are also celebrities or pop stars that also don't connect, and that's
they
really
keep that wall there, whether it's out of nerves or whatever.
or they get so, I mean, even sometimes when they get so deep into their song and they get so involved in their own song can still be an amazing performance, but those ones that really just don't take the time to look at everyone and give everyone a little piece of something, and it makes a difference. It makes your performance. It can either make it or can break it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point, especially when these young kids are spending the last dollar they have to pay these astronomical ticket prices.
It's
At
just
least
nuts.
look at the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
It's the give and take, right? The best type of performances are the artists that literally everyone's there for a reason, right? It's like there's no way that this entire performance can really happen unless the audience was there.
Right.
So why are you just sort of acting like you're on a soapbox and not looking and
Totally.
connecting with
And
people.
some of these people, and there are a lot of new artists that are, I think, maybe just not
because they've been on TikTok performing all the time and there with,
or they're not ready for. They haven't really
They
thought
haven't
about.
done the mall crawls that they used to do back in the day, and
What I've heard
the gay club crawls that they force all these queens and to do.
What I've heard is the biggest issue is nerves. It's like if they look, then they're gonna see whatever. It's like, let's pretend we're in rehearsal. Let me go to my track. Let me lip sync because that's my safe space. They're not performers.
Yeah. I mean,
People like Pink, people like Lady Gaga, whatever you think of them, they actually perform.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
sing
Meant
live.
for
They're
the
there.
stage.
Okay, we need to wrap up the show, but of course we're going to wrap up the show with our
Well, speaking of Lady Gaga,
pop culture review. Let's start it, shall we, Tony? You better report because we're going to give opinions.
On the Rocks is proud to present Pop on the Rocks, your daily dose of Dehler with your host, Steven Dehler, bringing us the latest dish in pop culture. Take it away, Steven. I'll be in the corner drinking.
true story.
I love this part of the show because I can just lean back.
He acts like he's in the corner drinking. He's usually in the center drinking.
Always. I can make the Abby. It's like
Center of
bitch.
attention, even when we get someone.
Okay.
All right. Well, speaking of Lady Gaga, she was seen this last week filming The Joker 2. And yes, look at her. Yes. That's.
It's gonna be
This
good.
Harley Quinn. She's working along, obviously.
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. I know I say Queen today. Harley Quinn.
Queen, hey,
No,
girl.
you know why? Because it's actually Quinzel, and then she changes to Harley Quinn.
Oh.
So she's actually Dr.
He's
Harley.
like an actual nerd.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. So it's actually Dr. Harley Quinn's, Dr. Harley Quinzel, and then when she becomes Harley.
Did you say Quiznos? I'll have the foot long
Right.
toasted.
Well, it's a play on the word Harlequin because, the Joker and the Harlequin, so that's the whole thing. But anyway, so she was filmed this week. We saw her multiple times in multiple outfits and seen her making out with a woman as she's walking up the stairs. There's are you excited for the Joker too? I mean, I'm pretty excited. I
am. I actually yeah.
I love Lady Gaga and I love Lady Gaga just in general. I'm a big fan, but I'm also I think the I don't think there's a lot of people that watch the Joker, the first one, that really love it, that are watching the second one for Lady Gaga.
What's his name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
I didn't love him. I think I'm one of those people that I'm excited that Gaga
He's his
is
biggest
joining.
enemy.
That's what I'm saying.
his
So I
biggest
think
enemy.
that the audience that they're pulling in
Yeah.
with Gaga is going to make this such a culmination of just different feelings. I mean,
Yeah.
really
We also
excited
have to
see
say
it.
the opinions that I give are not the opinions of our guests.
But I also really
we know
enjoy.
that for sure.
Because I'm ready for this one. by the way.
Oh yeah.
I also
all right.
really enjoyed the last Batman they just did. Was it Batman?
Yes. It's Batman with
With Rob Pattinson?
Zoe,
I mean, it was
with
so
Zoe
quiet. I had to
Kravitz.
I was like,
It was so
it was
dark.
so
I was like,
dark.
that part, it was very
I was
dark.
like,
Nightlight?
speak up or turn your mic up.
It
but
took
I
me 3 times to
enjoyed
get through it because I kept falling asleep.
visually. It was like
So
gorgeous.
with the DC with the James Gunn is now using with the DCU is that this is now going to be part of the Elseworlds.
We know that James
Movies.
Gunn is very talented.
He is very
we know
talented.
he has a clear vision. We
Yeah.
know his vision is often very popular.
Well, what he's done so far has been, he's done really well with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm very excited to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which will be the final time we see this Guardians of the Galaxy in this sense that we've seen them. And then he did The Suicide Squad, which was like a retelling / sequel. It was not
bit of a miss, right? That one was
of the
the
first
second
one. And there's a reason why he was put in charge. And Kevin Feige, who is the head of the Marvel universe, backed him up in everything that he's doing. I have opinions of my own, and I wish that Henry Cavill could still be Superman. That's something that was really something that was,
I know
don't
what
think
happened
that-
there. What
No,
the
no.
fuck?
I think that he's done with it.
Right.
No, it wasn't that. They were no. James Gunn is done with it. They were literally building him up to be back
I
in
have
it.
some other intel.
But he was put. Well, it's also.
He has respect for it.
Of course, and he wanted to continue to do it, I'm sure, and I think that the lies that Dwayne Johnson had told him for Black Adam is what made him want to.
But didn't he
do
also
it.
get taken off Witcher at the same time?
Well,
Like,
he
there was a
left.
few-
He's doing that 80s
He actually
show.
no, he left Witcher because he's a huge fan.
Because he was terrible in it.
And is he gay?
Okay,
That's all I want to know.
Absolutely. He probably used to be. Like, there's photos back there, but he's no. He left The Witcher.
Nobody sue us.
No, I mean, there's with them other gay people that they had to remove from the internet. But anyway, so
Let's be honest, he was awful in Witcher.
No, he wasn't awful in The Witcher.
I'm in Witcher.
No, he was a huge fan. The whole the reason why he did The
every
Witcher.
episode. You know I'm right.
We're on a tangent right now, but let me just say this. Okay. The only reason why he did The Witcher is because he was a huge fan of The Witcher. And the director of The Witcher actually came out. She said like he was so annoying because he was so into the character, and he wanted to have the character be like a reflection of the game and in the books and shit, and the director and the writers were making it completely different, and they were just butting heads.
Hollywood writers are terrible. They don't have any.
He wanted to be truthful to the story and to the original character.
Right.
Hollywood doesn't want any.
He left The Witcher. He didn't leave The Witcher to do Superman again. He just happened to leave at the same time.
Okay, right.
And I think that he's going to be.
He was done with it.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely done with it.
Yeah.
That
It's
was
like Pascal in Mandalorian.
That just happened to happen.
We're getting way off. Whatever. No. I'm gonna go back to Lady Gaga so I can give my opinion.
Yeah, please.
If
let
you
us
don't
know
mind.
what. Yeah, let us know
My
what you
name's on the
think.
marquee. Okay.
That
Using
part.
about Lady Gaga, I'm excited to see this because I think it's going to be the most masturbatory mess. Because we know
my God.
Joaquin Phoenix, that's all he is like, look, I'm acting.
She's gonna
Lady
be.
Gaga in her last
Is overacting.
2 things. A Star is Born was like, I'm acting. And she like, look, are you watching?
You don't
House
think
of
she's a good
Gucci.
actress?
She got a Raspberry nomination. I don't know. House of
Okay,
Gucci.
well,
Wait. Let me finish. House of Gucci. She was so bad, and then she did a press tour with Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek was so over her.
Oh my god.
This is true. Salma Hayek was like, I'm not doing, because they did a whole thing. She's like, I wrote letters as Patrice. And Salma Hayek thought she was kidding. So she's like, ah. And then she was like, no, she's not. And the camera zoomed in.
I mean, Sandra Bullock got a
much.
Raz and an Oscar in the same damn year. So, I mean, like, you really can't, like, I mean...
Lady Gaga's become that bubble like Ellen did. Like Oprah did. They get in their own bble that they forget what their fans really want, and they become so unto themselves.
Well, then we'll
they're
see
not
after.
believable as anything
We'll
else.
see it. We'll see after this movie. I mean, I've seen photos. I mean, like, she's definitely hitting the crazy
We're all gonna
part.
see it.
It's just gonna be. I just.
yeah, I'm gonna see it.
And I actually wish that we would take the comic book movies back to camp. Like, we haven't had camp in a long ass time, and
But
I
we
feel
also
like
know camp is smart. Camp is not parody. Camp is
Yeah.
not slapstick.
that's what I mean. I'm talking about
Yes.
like when Michelle
True
Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
There was that
camp.
little
Like,
bit of
Jack Nicholson is
sex
Joker.
appeal.
I'm hoping
That's
that
camp.
this is like Lady Gaga's like Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Like, and that listen, you can be as skeptical as you want, but let's see it. I feel like
I wrote letters as Harley Quinn to myself.
no, she would probably have to like
I wrote
do
letters to
something
the
way
Joker
crazier than
in
that
jail.
if you know the character.
I played solitaire.
All right. Oh my god. All right. Well, on to our next
Okay,
subject,
next.
which is even more fun. We got RuPaul's Drag Race. We got our top freaking.
I just
four.
caught up last
Oh my God.
night.
Actually,
I caught up the day before. last.
I just ran into such a Colby yesterday at the tanning salon.
We
love,
talked about.
love.
no,
Girl, she's done tanning, by the way.
No, I went
She's
into,
gonna be a taquito. In
No,
2
I literally
seconds.
just I walked into. I was
Which
coming.
salon do we go to?
I go to Palm Beach Tan in West
She's still
Hollywood.
there. That's still there, Palm Beach Town.
Yeah, it's still there. I know it's so funny.
Next
I
to
worked
Chop
there.
Shop.
I
Next to
worked
Chop
there.
Shop.
The Chop Stop is gone.
Oh shit,
It's gone.
Times are
But
changing.
yeah, I was coming out of the booth and I was walking out and I see her and I was like, "What is up?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just getting a quick tan because they're filming the finale and the
I know, I
reunion
was-
this
When
week."
she coming on the show?
I got asked my avail.
When did she come in the
to
show?
dance,
Well,
but
time and place.
I was taken off.
What was?
I got asked to avail to dance, but I was taken off the list. I
No.
know, how dare.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I do have to say, I do like this season.
Terrible, Muriel.
I think it's been
Me
fantastic.
too.
It's
Except I
fantastic.
do feel the MTV juicy drama producer thing coming through, where it's like now turning a little bit into the drama of it
Housewives.
all.
We're seeing we're seeing like the creative part from the producers instead of the
Which
actual.
we never-
Wait a minute.
really felt
Wait
the
a minute.
drama.
We're also seeing 90-minute episodes.
Yeah, thank God.
So I think they're like, well, we have to fill it. And we love the 90-minute episodes because we got to see Untucked without having to watch Untucked.
right,
Let's be honest.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
No, I mean, but they've always been like that. I think that's why this season also has been really popular. Is that the queens have been so like old school. Like I would say season like 1 through 5 shady to each other in the show, and then to the point where like they have to like talk about it online, be like, no, we're good. We were just like we're like like
they're in character. They're queen character.
Well, they're in the competition, right? And they're drag queens, right?
Yeah.
Like stop. Like you don't need to be like like I said. Remember, this is the biggest thing that they always say. It's not RuPaul's best friend race.
Well, and I mean
right?
that's the drag queen like scene. Is that
they're all
bitchy,
shady and fun to each other.
Yeah.
Lockhart, would you ever be in a dance competition reality show? As a judge.
As a judge?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would love to be as a judge.
I love how that turned.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were asking me as a dancer. I was like,
anyone wants to be a judge on a show. Hello.
But I would also love to be. I mean, I'd love to be a host of a dance show.
Yeah.
You know, take control of the mic.
Because then no one's ever like, all you have to do is
You're
just be,
good on the mic,
you get
by
to
the
be
way.
supportive of the contestants and then be like, what are you talking about, judges? And like, you know, like,
Who's the blonde? Who's the one from So You Think You Can Dance? What's her name? She's been there forever.
oh, so you think you can dance?
Yeah. What's
the blonde one, the Australian. Who?
No,
wait,
she's British.
Okay, we have to move on.
Sorry.
Wait,
No,
didn't
but
she
real
give
fast.
out the wrong name one time?
I
Like,
don't know, but she's literally been there
my
since
God.
the
But
beginning.
you know that what's her name? Not Ho, but Ho is back as host for Dancing with the Stars. Because Tyra Banks.
yeah, Tyra Banks left.
She did not.
And I say left, I mean she was
did not
booted the
leave.
hell out of there.
But in her contract, had to say that she left.
Left.
Of course.
Whatever.
Oh my god, I'm gonna put that in
Oh,
my
yeah,
contract.
no,
I'm
we
gonna
all
put that in my
know.
contract next if I get fired. I'll be like,
What I do have to say about
left her.
Drag Race is I have to say that I think it's well diversified without them checking off the boxes. This Final Four is
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah,
the Final
yeah.
Four is great.
Yeah.
And they're all incredibly talented. I at this point, all of them are going to be super successful. Like regardless, like they're all four of them are just they're all super talented. They're going to be successful. They're going to get that Drag Race money. At this point, whoever wins, it's like that's why it becomes a camaraderie at the end. Like you have like Bianca, Courtney, and
Right.
and
Once you get to
Adora,
that top
like,
four,
like,
you're like,
they're
bitch,
like-
we all fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're getting rid of a queen. Only 3 are going to the finale.
No, it should be. That's I mean,
Right.
it should always be 3. It's like the whole like novelty of having it be 4 and doing the double and I really hope they don't do it this season because they haven't had a double Shantae stay. Even though
Thank
they've
God, because I'm sick of that. It's a competition.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
competition.
But people started getting. I think that was the thing. People started to expect it, and
Okay.
now. Okay, well,
Sorry,
move on.
we have to move on.
All right, so,
Tony has to go home to his husband.
okay. So now our third is well, I don't know if you heard. So over the weekend,
I don't know what to say about this.
I'm really sad about this, but you know, we'll see how this plays out. But Jonathan Majors was charged with 3 counts of assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the 3rd degree, and harassment in the 2nd degree. After he is arrested on an alleged domestic dispute on Saturday, the documents show.
Who is this guy?
He is Jonathan Majors. He's in
That's a
Creed
good point.
3. He is now going to be the big bad of the MCU. So he's going to be the star of Kang Dynasty. He's in multiple MCU projects.
No, he's also the villain in Ant-Man.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. He's going
Yeah.
to be the main villain in the MCU because he's actually like James Brolin, who was Thanos. He's going to be the new Thanos. And so him using him
Are
in
these all
Ant-Man,
superhero movies?
yeah, so him and Ant-Man wasn't the first time you didn't see him in Ant-Man for the first time. If you watched Loki, he was in Loki as well. And so and at the end of Ant-Man, if you watch the credits, spoiler alert, there are about 1 million versions of him that exist. So the whole thing is that his name is Kang, and that's the next Avengers movie is Kang Dynasty.
We also know Marvel is very sensitive to harassment, whatever.
Yeah.
If you're out of the universe, you're out of the universe.
Major's lawyers
They'll recast you real fast.
Yeah, well, Major's lawyers in a statement said, well, they basically claiming that he actually called the police. Supposedly, is the one who called the police, and she is having a mental breakdown. That's what his lawyers
What
are
year
claiming.
was this? Here's the thing: is anybody that's
this
rising to stardom is going to have
This
all
happened
of
over
this
this
stuff.
happened over the weekend.
Oh.
His lawyers are saying that we're quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney, explaining everything the charges. We have video footage, we have testimonial that this is just so. I'm keeping an open mind because I've seen so many things that this man has done. I'm a big fan, and I really hope that this is just someone that's trying to blackball him. But if it ends up being what it is, I do not see
I don't take violence accusations light at all.
Yeah, neither do I. And so this is also a really big situation because he's supposed to be in probably like at least like 8 more projects that they're actually working on right now.
So Jonathan Majors, I was like, who's he? But I recognize him.
He?
No, he was in.
He's gorgeous.
No,
That's who
I
he is.
know him from Lovecraft Country, which was one of the best horror shows on Showtime.
Yeah.
And he was a star of that. That's how I knew him. I didn't know him from Ant-Man, whatever. Okay.
I mean, and then like all the photo shoots and like if you watch his
You watch that
interviews
show,
and
it's
if
really
you watch
good.
his interviews,
Really?
it's just if it ends up being true, it's just very sad because he very much tricked a lot of people.
But here's also, like we talked about, there's the new thing. I'm in entertainment. I'm getting all this accolades. I'm getting all this money. I act different.
And then all of a sudden, out of
other
nowhere,
things.
while you're hitting your pedestal,
Right.
this comes out.
It seems
is
a little
questionable.
Yeah.
So
Someone's
yeah,
trying to bring you down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
exactly.
People act differently too.
That part. All right, so then we're gonna hit our
True that.
shade of the week.
is the shade of the week.
This is more shade of the month because it was a couple weeks ago, but I thought this was something
It's
that
been
was
deleted from the world, by the way.
This was so good that I mean, okay, so I don't know if y'all know, so Lukas Gage has been getting a lot of attention.
Also, like, what did he play in the first White Lotus? Because, like, I do not remember him.
He was the one that got his ass eaten out.
He was the little shop boy.
Yeah, and then he's also in the newest season of You
I don't watch you.
on Netflix. Okay, so
It's a really good show.
So
His acting is awful.
Oh, you think everyone's acting is awful? Who's
No.
not straight? No, you think trans people are acting awful? You think gay people acting is awful? You
I
think
never
everyone?
said that.
No, but
That
I'm
is
saying
absolutely not
No,
true.
but, like,
I'll flip
every-
this table over right now.
you know every time you critique anybody, it's always these people. Like, why do you always why do you always think that everyone's
Watch
a
his
terrible?
performance in You, and we'll see.
I don't think his performance is terrible. Girl.
Anyway, next.
You just wish you were getting peed on.
I have such issues. I don't even want you to breathe on me.
No, okay.
No,
So
but no.
anyway, so Perez Hilton said, so this guy was getting a lot of attention because everyone was saying that he was dating his.
Chris
He's the next
Appleton.
big thing.
Yes, they were saying he was dating Chris Appleton, and it started going viral, and he
they
hadn't
are.
announced or anything like that. Although I think was it yesterday that he said that it was official.
They finally announced it.
So Perez Hilton says he tweeted out saying somebody needs to tell this dude he's not as famous as he thinks it is. Details here with like a link. And then Lucas replies, somebody needs to tell this dude that nobody has read his blog since 2009.
True.
They're
Details
both
here.
true.
Very true. Well, first of all, this guy he's just getting talked about. So him getting talked about does not mean that he thinks he's more famous than he is. And by the way, didn't Perez denounce his bullyism and now he's just full force back into bullying people?
Oh, he needs to
Well-
make money. Look, he's in the news again. We're talking about him right now.
There we go. That's all. That's
doing
his
it. It's
claim
all
to
a move.
fame. That's his
Yep.
claim to fame.
Yeah, well, because I tweeted something out saying something like, because he was talking crap about Britney and saying all this stuff, and I was like, we don't
just
need
has
these
to
idiots.
be.
And then he responded to me, and I'm like, dude, like,
Oh my god, I had
need to relax.
Anderson Cooper send me a message the other day saying thanks for the follow. Which I
What are you talking about? Vanderbilt? You better
Well,
go on
right,
a date.
which
You
I
better-
gagged because I was like, wait, I think I followed you like years ago.
yeah.
And
reading through.
he was
That's
in it,
really
and
good.
honey,
I
and
could
I
see
was
that.
like, oh, thank you, and I was like, but I think I should be.
This baby on New Year's Eve.
But then I'm just like, why are you paying so
I
much
can see
attention
that.
to your messages? What are you doing right now? that's what I think when I have.
I was
response.
cute back, and I was like, oh, I should be saying that to you. Yeah, I said thank you, but I should be saying that to you.
And
He's following me too.
so he didn't.
Oh,
Follow
there's,
that.
I haven't heard anything back. So that's why I'm like, a little bit like, was that a
message him right
spam? Was that a scammer?
But I could see.
How about what time of the day was that?
It was 11. It was 11 p.m. 11 a.m. 11 a.m.
It was
11 a.m.
But I have to
I-
say, if you date Anderson Cooper, one meme went viral. It was like two gay kissing themselves.
Oh,
You're
you
the
think-
younger Anderson Cooper.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I
Yeah.
could totally. see
100%.
that.
Okay, although we know Anderson Cooper has never had an ass. Anyway,
That's up.
we have to
There you
end
go.
the show.
Your Anderson Cooper.
You do look a little bit like Anderson
Really?
Cooper.
I've
100%.
never had that. Okay.
like a 70s version. Like
We're gonna
with the
follow up on
stash.
this. We're gonna have
the gay
whatever.
70s version.
We're gonna see Lockhart on CNN. It's like Anderson be like,
and
now
now
with
to
our dance-
entertainment news.
now in our dance segment in Ukraine, here's Lockhart.
Not a dance. I mean, you great. Okay, I'm done with you.
Oh my god.
We're gonna bring Highland to lift the spirits in Ukraine. That's what your segment's gonna be.
Mom,
That's
can
so
you pick me up
inappropriate.
right now? I
Oh
need to
my
go.
god.
We know we're all supporting
I
Ukraine.
died.
It's fine. Lockhart, where can we find and follow you?
Oh my god, follow me at Lockie Brownlie because I go by Lockie And that is on Instagram. And I mean, do people use Facebook still? I think Instagram's really just my main tea.
A lot of good stuff.
A lot
Little
of good
videos
stuff.
of your performances.
Yes. There's a lot of information on there.
Stephen.
The only Steven on Instagram, and for the next 2 weeks left that we have of Twitter before it gets completely destroyed.
Oh shit! What is TikTok still? Are they still doing this TikTok pull down too?
Oh well, no. So Twitter's getting destroyed because they're going to make it so that all the people in like your For You is just going to be checkmark people, and like you have to pay for all that kind of crap. No, TikTok is a whole nother thing. That's what they're just doing in court or in the Congress right now.
But I'm on TikTok too.
So the only Steven and then Steven Dehler elsewhere. I'm on Tribal now.
What's Tribal?
I don't know. It's supposed to be the new.
out.
It's supposed to be the new Twitter.
Oh shit!
All right. Anyway, that's all, folks. It's On the Rocks. Every week, it's always a grab bag of fun. You never know who's going to show up. A big thank you to our engineer / owner, Tony Sweet, our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Coming up, we have Daniel Franzese from Mean Girls and HBO's Looking.
He doesn't even go here.
Wait a minute. He's coming on to chat about his new podcast called Yes, Jesus. It's a gay man's look into religion with his co-host, who's an ex-TBN evangelist who went through conversion therapy, who came out on TV on TBN. And we're talking about they're still religious. We're going to talk about that. We also have top Hollywood stunt driver, Zandara Kennedy. She's worked on all of your favorite films, Fast and Furious, Kill Bill. She's the most in demand. She'll be the first Canadian and the first queer person to compete in this year's Formula Drift competition, which is an international, it's big. I'm glad. Please like, share,
Big
subscribe
deal.
so we can continue bringing this fabulous programming coming your way. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, and if you're into it, stay tipsy.
Yes.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.